Battlefield 5 is a game that completely divides opinion. Some think it's great, whilst others think it's an overhyped, unfinished mess. One thing we can all agree on though is that it is missing features, and the list of bugs, glitches and problems goes far beyond an acceptable amount for a AAA title created by a studio with the pedigree of DICE. In this video, I'm going to list all of the issues I've come across or seen others complaining about in an attempt to get them all in the same place at once. Maybe DICE devs will watch the video and take some of this into consideration, and although I don't offer a huge amount of constructive criticism as I do in other videos, making sure they are known is at least the first part of getting them resolved. A big shout out goes to Omicron, who posted a long list on Reddit with most of these issues, and also some players on my Discord who provided me with some pretty hilarious clips to act as part of the gameplay you'll see in the background. All of their social media can be found in the description below. So let's get into it in no particular order. Here are 200 things that are wrong with Battlefield 5.
What do you mean? What do you fucking mean? There's another guy there.
The squad spawn camera does not always show spawn beacons. Sometimes when you spawn on a vehicle in the spawn screen, it won't let you spawn and other teammates will drive off instead. Sometimes when attempting to spawn a vehicle, it will fail to do so, take you to a camera view where you died, and you'll be stuck there. The only way to fix this is to quit. You are forced to play as a female pilot in Tanks and Planes, which is a straight conflict with DICE's approach to an inclusive and diverse Battlefield game that prides itself on customization. There is no easy way to manage and change class loadouts between the two factions and two combat roles. You can't equip new unlocks without leaving the server, which kinda sucks and breaks up the flow of the game. Pistols are unlocked through progression in each class, but are unlocked for all the classes once you reach it with one. Earning it on other classes just duplicates the pistol in the UI. You can't equip challenges without quitting the server, and they don't update to the next tier automatically. The game forces TAA and there is no way to turn it off. This makes the game blurry and adds to the already atrocious visibility problem. The challenge descriptions are not exactly clear and can often lead to players getting confused with what they actually have to achieve. Leaving servers often results in long or indefinite black screens. Some assignments require you to play like an idiot and almost purposely sabotage your team's chance of winning. You cannot join servers full of friends in full squads. You cannot switch teams to play with your friends. Subtitles are white text and cannot be seen on the snow maps, with many of the voice acting being in native languages and not region based. Challenges are not tracked properly, namely the Tides of War challenges. When you leave a game, it gives the option to drag other squad mates out with you. Whilst spawning, occasionally choosing one spawn point will show you one timer, then moving to another one will force you into a different timer, starting that 10-second countdown once again. Company coins are broken, and some level 50s don't earn company coin at all. Level 50 players who do earn company coin almost earn nothing in preparation for the upcoming Battlefield coins that of course you have to purchase with real money. That's not confirmed, but that's me speaking with my tinfoil hat on. The company coin earning display after the round is bugged and not entirely accurate. A tank colour reskin literally costs half of your company coins by reaching level 50, which is not only silly but unfair. People still routinely spawn on people you are actively shooting, as they did in BF1, BF4 and BF3. It is possible for several modes and map combinations to still spawn your soldier slightly out of bounds. The third person tank crosshair is too high and does not line up with shots. First person tank aiming has a large input delay and sucks a lot of the fun from tanking. There is also a small delay when using the tanks in terms of acceleration and braking. Ground armour balance is atrocious, the link to historical accuracy is terrible, and the balance between small and large tanks sucks completely, alongside poor tank mechanics that allow for no real tank engagements. Tanks appear to take hits and damage from shells that have not yet reached them, missed them, or hit them earlier without any damage. This is linked to some sort of networking bug, it appears. Zooming out in a tank results in jumping of the turret aim. Zooming in with a tank sometimes results in a black screen for about a second, which is perfect for you getting out of focus for the upcoming engagement. In a really poor link to history, the German tanker is wearing a snow camo outfit on all maps with medical crosses painted on it and armed with a British Sten. This is one of many historical inaccuracies with the customization and different factions. The tank secondary gunner seat is a death trap with the explosive spam causing almost certain death, reducing the potential for vehicle team play. In order to construct a tank resupply station, you must leave your tank and potentially lose it to either a friendly or enemy player, something that has been a problem for several Battlefield games. Supply stations are badly laid out for the tanks and often require you to drive for 5 minutes in order to reach one. Some uncapped spawns don't even have supply stations, and in modes like Breakthrough, your team supply stations are sometimes out of bounds completely. Alongside being badly positioned, not all tank resupply stations appear on the map. For some odd and slightly misleading reason, ammo and health resupply boxes fill up with a white icon counterclockwise, while support and medic crates empty out clockwise. Med crates also sink through the floor. Bombers can't resupply MG ammo when flying through supply markers. Some plane variants can't resupply the repair abilities whilst flying through supply markers, and there is a bug that causes vision in planes to appear blurry, like when being shot at and suppressed, but completely randomly. Towable flak guns when left in the open shake and even roll when being used, rendering them near useless. Towable weapons glitch about and shake uncontrollably, often flipping the thing that's pulling them along, and it's really not something that you can control. A console-specific problem, but stationary MGs have very unresponsive and laggy aiming controls. Transport vehicles never vanish on their own like in previous games, they seem to sit there indefinitely, meaning flags and spawns have no vehicles, as the ones that your team owns are just left on the battlefield for the rest of the game. Flag and base spawns routinely show transport vehicle symbols, but they have none available. Assault players fire the Panzerfaust from close to their forehead, allowing for head-glitching rocket fire. The Piat has a mortar icon that doesn't always appear, and it also has a mortar icon that doesn't always line up, and is linked to the height on the map, which would be fine, but the game does not make this clear to players, so many are just firing it and missing. Sometimes anti-tank mines will float above the ground. Grenade launchers and grenade pistols will almost certainly disable a tank part when fired, which is incredibly bad for balance, and medic smoke grenade launchers seem to go through the map or fail to detonate. Medic health crates and support crates like to fall through the map, as I mentioned before, however this is not something that can be controlled, and sometimes they only just sink through the floor, so you can see them but you can't use them. Medic and support will often do their animation of dropping the crate but nothing appears. Medic and support crate ability cooldown time is often reached 0, but then won't allow you to place them and instead start another shorter cooldown timer, which is really frustrating because not only does it seem to be random, but it's just completely unnecessary and one of those bugs that I have no idea how it's turned up in the game. Throwing health and ammo packs via the spot button only works sometimes, and other times you will end up throwing something to somebody you never wanted to. The spotting flare for the recon is not effective and the decoy is a waste of time. Recon scope glint needs refining as it often obscures the shooter's vision. The recon scope glint is so bright that if there's two snipers prone next to each other, you can't see either because the scope glint obscures both of them. Recons have a scope glint on the 3x scope, even on the semi-autos, however, the assaults do not have that scope glint and they have weapons that are better at that range. Spawn beacons are buggy and they can't be placed down in all positions. There's an alarmingly small number of gadgets for each class. This isn't necessarily a bug, but it's something that I did think about and put it on the list anyway. Vaulting is buggy and you often can't move over objects at all. Although being updated soon, the vaulting animations are slow and clunky, especially ones where you're dropping out of a window. When crouching down after jumping from a window, your soldier takes an age to get back up, leaving you as a sitting duck for the enemy, and that has no place in an FPS game. The bipods are broken in-game, the bipods are broken in the practice range, melee from back routinely fails to do the animation and instead pokes and alerts the enemy, he'll turn around and often just stab you in the face and his animation will work just fine. Bayonet charging is very unreliable compared to BF1, it rarely actually stabs the target, which sucks considering you drop another specialization in order to take it. You do not run faster when the bayonet is deployed but still get punished with the sprint cooldown. When proning, you are often forced into random movement out of the player's control, even after the initial push forwards to avoid clipping the wall behind you. In addition to this, prone seems inconsistent about pushing you forward to avoid that clipping and standing you back up to avoid clipping once more. Whilst in the crouch positions, attempting to go prone and having it fails puts you up to the full standing upright position. There is no position indicator even with the new crouch sprint, so you can often be crouched without really knowing it. The comma rows is sometimes bugged and it takes a while to recognise what you put in. Zooming in with the V1 binoculars often leads to a black screen or at least half a black screen and therefore you miss your target. The black screen on the V1 still allows you to launch the rocket off the map and consequently waste all your squad points. You can make the spotting ping sound whilst you're down, but no icon appears, meaning that it is completely pointless for your teammates. Bleed out time is inconsistent. Random small fires on the ground will cause you to bleed out incredibly quickly, and there is nothing you can do about it. Some fortifications are tricky to build and require several seconds to line up before they work. When building fortifications, your shadow is completely out of sync with your body. There is a fortification cover assist point that actually never registers, and dead bodies twitch all the time. This is kind of funny, but clearly not intended. When Germans are the paratroopers in Airborne, you start in an American plane full of clearly British soldiers, including a black guy in a beret. In the filter browser, Conquest, Breakthrough and Frontlines are confused between their own modes, and this, in my opinion, is a way to force you to play Grand Operations as they turn up in the Grand Ops mode, for example Day 1, Day 2 or Day 3. Day 4, the Final Stand mode, is so incredibly rare that it might as well not exist. Grand Ops is a grand failure. The AI in the single player is absolutely terrible. Single player challenges fail to register. Although I am a fan personally of single player in Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, even though it's not perfect, it's a nice change of pace. Some people aren't getting the achievements or the trophies for beating the game on the higher difficulties, which means you have to go back in, watch the cutscenes and do the different sections of the mission again, which is really, really laborious. Dragging bodies doesn't exist and probably won't come to the game anytime soon, which is a major disappointment. Survivable plane crash animations are also not in the game, and I can't imagine they're going to be in the game in the near future. Emblems suck and are so much worse than in BF4 and BF1. The server browser doesn't always work properly, bring Battlelog back, and in-game stats are far too basic. Ribbons are also too basic and are a definite step down from BF1. Medals are also a step down from BF1, and why are dog tags even in the game at this point? Airlifts are a personal gripe of mine, as I feel for players that have been purposefully ripped off by EA. $20 for a new weapon skin that looks terrible, a disgusting business practice in my opinion. Rapeseed flowers don't render properly as cover at ranges at times, and it's not linked to your foliage quality in game, it is just a bug. Which means you can see people lying down in the fields when they think they're covered with these rapeseed flowers. They're actually not, they're just lying out in the open. The thickness of fog changes when you zoom in and out with a magnified scope, making tracking targets you spot almost impossible. There is very little way to check your squad rank at the end of a game, and this is a really good one, a problem for a few games now. The scoreboard actually lacks the score. Soldiers reload a single shot Panzerfaust, which is a nice, bad link to history. Tree hitboxes are bugged, and the bridge on Twisted Steel has terrible hitboxes all round, and you often find your bullets hitting invisible walls. Bullet penetration is extremely unreliable and a feature that shouldn't be in a Battlefield game to this extent. When ramming a tank with a car, the car often goes under the tank and flips it over. If military history is anything to go by, cars of course flipped tanks all the time. There are many bomb craters that you cannot run out of and instead get stuck. The most notable one is on Aerodrome. Sometimes you spawn in without your gun. Looking out of windows from inside buildings often leads to you getting blinded in a similar way to what we experienced in Battlefield 1. Planes automatically deploy landing gear and automatically slow down when you are flying low. You cannot prevent this. Everyone gets a free death on the scoreboard after the round ends. I like to think it's EA giving something back to the community. Trees don't pop in with proper models as you approach them, leaving you with 2D paper trees. One frame time to death still exists. The compass is too small and is in the wrong position, and cannot be seen on certain snow maps. Sometimes you cannot use a bandage to heal yourself. Many in-game notifications are too large and intrusive on screen, for example, that we suffered our first casualty. On revive, you can be stuck permanently prone. It is possible to score an Avenger bonus plus 0 points. Even after disabling them in the settings, ribbons and weapon rank up displays on death. Weapon and vehicle rank up don't pop up when you actually complete them, and sometimes crosshairs disappear for passengers completely. The Tides of War assignments not only struggle to track your progress, but also don't always display the detail you need to complete the challenges. Getting kills whilst crouched can count towards assignments that ask for kills whilst prone. A nice bug, but a bug nonetheless. Network performance icons overlap the kill feed. I've tried to fix this in the gameplay settings, but I just couldn't. Sometimes player animations completely break, resulting in players translating around standing, crouched or prone. Pretty funny, but a definite bug. Your sidearm sights are misaligned whilst swimming. Not a bug that I've personally experienced, but one that exists, is something after being in the menu, the aim down sight/fire, which randomly brings up the daily assignment menu. As mentioned earlier, all tankers are female, however when your tank is burning, the coughing sound coming from inside is definitely from a male voice actor. You can spin around as a secondary gunner in a tank with enough speed to fling your tank into a fourth dimension, causing a deadly explosion and deserter penalty. One of the more bizarre bugs, when holding a shotgun in prone, any action you do can involuntarily trigger a glitch that can cause your first person character model to expand to the size of a skyscraper, however that is the view you get as it's a camera positioning glitch. You can't remove the emblem from the guns or vehicles if you've already applied one. As a squad leader, attack and defend orders don't automatically convert even on flags that have only been neutralised. Defend orders are way too short, turning VoIP off doesn't always seem to mute your squad mates, stat tracking on medals and dog tags is wrong and often fails to register, and this is a good one, the C-47 is present in the stats page. You know, the airborne plane you can't actually get any stats with and it drops you off at the beginning of a match. That's actually in the stats page as if the game thinks you can get kills with it. On top of that, the Mosquito is actually missing from the stats page, so someone clearly got those two mixed up. Medical Syringe tracks kills in the stats page, clearly not being updated from BF1, and the accuracy stats on all grenades is just wrong. Ammo and health catching animations sometimes loop until you die. Vaulting whilst healing can lead to an endless resupply bug, and requesting an order from the squad leader only works half the time. Inherited squad leaders sometimes can't kick people from the squad, which is a nice bug to have as a new squad leader. Probably you want to kick someone, that's the point of turning to be the squad leader. And friendly spawn beacons often don't have their name appear in game, making them appear to be enemy beacons. Squad beacons don't spawn the direction you were looking in when you placed them, unlike previous games which can be confusing. Colorblind and custom UI settings don't work on vehicle resupply station icons and other important UI elements. Despite all the forced movement in the prone system, players still get regularly clipped through walls and can have their feet shot. Pilots and tankers cannot be customised in any way in a game that prides itself on customisation. There's no team balancer. Conquest Assaults on Hamada is possibly the worst Battlefield experience I've ever had, and I'd happily see it removed from the game. It's not strictly a bug, but I'd definitely put it down as one of the things wrong with Battlefield 5. Directional audio doesn't seem to work very well, and footsteps just don't exist. Leaving the squad sometimes doesn't work. This was worse in the alpha and beta, but still causes issues in the main game, and this is of course probably linked to Origin being a terrible system for joining your friends. After a round, locked squads remained locked, meaning that players can leave, and 1 to 2 man squads are still locked, and they stay that way for the whole next round. The game should really force you to open your squad up, like it did in Battlefield 4 and other Battlefield games. If you then want to lock it again, you just do that yourself. In the Flak Panzer, if you switch to incendiary rounds, your ammo won't work anymore. The Panzer IV canister shell ammo routinely bugs out too, and is stuck on full ammo even if you run out. Attempting to spawn will frequently give a "this spawn is no longer available" message until you select another spawn point, and then go back to the one you tried spawning before, and remember the bug I said recently about the timer restarting again while it's attached to this. Although not strictly a bug, tank gameplay is amongst the worst I've ever seen in Battlefield, and is worse than BF3, BF4 and even BF1. How you can actually mess up World War II tank gameplay when you have templates such as Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 to go on, I really have no idea. Players who are currently being healed via a medkit, stationary or thrown, will still have the medic icon above their heads until they hit 100 health, causing other attentive medics to try and still heal them. They are in fact wasting their time, as the player is already healing. Shells seem to come out of the scope rather than the barrel on the Panzer IV, and when you are low on ammo with a sniper, the flashing reload sign hides the zeroing distance. Some world objects, such as crates and sandbag walls, won't appear unless you zoom in through a scope. The highlight enemy death cam seems to be inconsistent. Sometimes they are red, sometimes they are half red, and sometimes they don't have any red on them at all. Ally names over planes don't display at a distance, meaning they often look like enemies at that long range distance. Ally names on planes are also light blue, the same colour as the sky, so you can't see them. Spawning on teammates before a round can put you in barbed wire that will kill you. Ping values are not always accurate. On Xbox, Ground Operations has no controller vibration, although this may have been fixed in a recent update, as I do not play Xbox, and I'm not too sure what happened with the recent update to the game. Sometimes when being revived, if the timer has just run out, and the person reviving you is killed, you can't die. You can't redeploy, you have to Alt F4. Whilst leaned and prone, the crosshairs on most guns don't seem to line up properly. The auto lean/peak system is inconsistent and unreliable, although I wouldn't necessarily suggest using this in the game, but if you do use it, it's probably going to be bugged. Explosives sometimes just don't explode. Planes can continually make the going down sound if you repair/quick repair when at very critical health. This is incredibly annoying and often leads me to taking my headphones off because it's a really irritating sound when looped over and over again. In addition to that, aircrafts can often make the cartoony version of the game's sound. I've had it before, it's almost after you've had a battle with another plane and then it's just the same rubbish plane sound, like it just takes one section of that little audio file and doesn't play the entire thing. The supply drop will kill you even after it has rested on the ground. It's fairly funny when it lands on somebody, but I'm talking about where it's actually landed on the ground. You go over to get some ammo and then you just die. The server settings don't allow this class to be used message, or whatever message this bug is telling you is very frustrating as it doesn't even expand on what it's actually trying to explain. You also have to go to the armory to get your new unlocks, a bug that everyone has pretty much complained about at this point. Respeccing guns and vehicles behaves slowly, and resetting the tree also takes some time, another bug with the UI. The Churchill tank should be able to turn in place when still, but like the other tank, it is forced to brake turn. Matchmaking times are terrible. The Amazon server systems suck. This is mainly because there's no RSP as well, which is a major problem in the game. You can't have custom servers, and you also can't join servers that don't have any people in to test things out. Tanks can continue resupplying from resupply stations even when they are full on ammo, health and abilities, which makes the player think they are in need of supplies. Tanks sometimes keep making the repair sound even after you have stopped repairing. Deploy points that won't work often freeze your deploy screen for a few seconds before letting you switch to a different one, and flags often get stuck on fully neutral in the deploy screen. Picking up a gun whilst trying to revive someone is a major control issue, because you can't revive the person, you just keep picking up the gun that's underneath them. You are forced to pick up the satchel charges when a fallen teammate drops them right in front of you. The interact button routinely does multiple things at once, causing you to wombo combo picking up ammo, picking up trip mines and closing doors all at the same time. Recapturing a flag after defending it isn't worth any points. Shooting planes and then the pilot jumping out causes you to get no reward. Planes can crash onto the ground and do one of the following things: explode, get stuck, bounce, or do a 180 and fly off again. Scope glint sometimes appears through smoke. Suppression spotting sometimes works through smoke. Although it was worse in the alpha and beta, it still does exist in the main game. Hit indicators from people who just killed you seem to appear from 180 degrees the wrong way. Since the 4th of December patch, the console chat log is gone, not a problem I struggle with on PC, but some people have said it's very annoying, as you have to really try and understand German in order to know what your teammates are requesting if you're on the Axis side. The practice range is awful, and I don't really need to go into any more detail with that. You cannot use specialised weapons on the practice range, defeating the entire point of the range itself, and RSP doesn't exist, which is a massive kick in the teeth for Battlefield communities. Finally, Battlefield 5 is just incomplete. I'm all for developing a game over its life and improving it over time. However, with Battlefield 5 it seems as if the bug list is far too large. One bug fixed leads to 2 or more created, but even more worryingly, the design decisions being made seem to lack coherence and research. This is not a dig at the hard-working devs who spend their life creating magnificent Battlefield experiences, but instead one at those in charge of these overall decisions. Please listen to those that play the game and understand what fixes are needed in order to create an enjoyable experience. Concentrate on fixing the basics. Please don't promise us features like dragging down teammates when in fact everyone knew this wouldn't be a feature available on launch because of the complexity. Put someone with significant Battlefield gaming experience with an exciting imagination in charge of assignments and rewards. Little things like this make all the difference in a game such as Battlefield. Allow those devs to focus on fixing specific issues that cause major frustration. Fix the damn game. Now hopefully DICE are going to do this with these 2 big updates coming in January. If they don't, I can't see much getting fixed before the Battle Royale comes out in March. Maybe that'll boost the player numbers up and get people back with a bit of good faith, but I have a feeling it's running fairly low at the minute. Even myself, I've stopped playing BF5. It's a real shame because I was hoping that this was going to be the game that really got me flying in the Battlefield franchise, a game that I'd put in hundreds and hundreds of hours in, maybe rack up 1,000 hours. I haven't done that since BF4, but there we go, it doesn't seem to be the case. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.